is.
Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call to order the City of Murfreesboro Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting for June 28, 2017. First item on our agenda is a consideration of the minutes from our regular meeting last month on May 24, 2017. Those minutes were provided to us. Are there any changes necessary to those?
Not from me.
Being none, those will stand as submitted, and we'll move on to new business. The first item under variance request is application Z17039 by Cory Williams, requesting two variances to construct a single-family residence on property zoned general office, and this is located at 450 Robert Street. The first of the two requests are a variance of 15 feet from the zoning ordinance requiring 30 feet for the front yard setback, and the second portion is a variance of 5 feet from the required 10-foot side setback. If you would go over that for us, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Young, Commissioners. I first want to apologize. I'm getting over pneumonia, so my voice is really scratchy. So I will keep my presentation to a minimum on the items before you today. The first one is a request from Mr. Williams, who's seeking two variances for the construction of a new residence to be sited no closer than 15 feet from the front property line and 5 feet from the side property line, located at 450 Roberts Street, which is across from the Oakland Park. The property is approximately 6,600 square feet in size, measuring 52 feet wide by 130.6 feet in length. The Murfreesboro zoning ordinance requires a 30-foot front building setback and a 10-foot side building setback for this particular zoning district. As indicated in the letter that the applicant had submitted, the intent is to construct a house that's in harmony with the other houses on this particular street. If you go down that street, you can see that most of the houses are sited about 15 feet back from the front right-of-way. They also are primarily sited about 5 to 7 feet from the side yard setbacks. They're mostly long, narrow streets. The applicant states that this request is not self-created because these lots were created several years ago, and the intent is to be in harmony with others. And the applicant is here to answer any questions that the board may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for staff at this point? Is there anything the applicant would like to add? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and conduct a public hearing. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak for or against this application? If you'd come forward to the podium and state your name and address so we can get it on the record.
Hey, I'm Cory Williams. I'm the applicant. I don't really have anything particularly to add. Ms. Rush pretty much covered the basis on that. I currently live on 603 North Manny Avenue. If you guys aren't familiar with it, I built a house there 2 years ago. I got a zoning appeal approved for that also. So my goal is to kind of keep harmony there. I love the downtown. I've lived down here for 2 years. I used to have a business on the square, so I want to kind of help rejuvenate the area. So this will be my primary residence, so it's not just a spec house I'm building to sell. So I've sold my house already, and I'll be moving there. So, all right. Thanks for your consideration.
Anyone else wishing to speak to this application? If not, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for any further discussion or a motion. And again, we have two components to this application.
This may be a question more for staff. When applicant states it's not self-created, realistically it is self-created since it's a vacant lot, right?
Well, the circumstances that would warrant the variance is the narrow shape of the property, and he was not part of the original subdivision.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's not self-created.
Okay.
In order to build with the required setbacks, you would ultimately end up with a long, narrow house, which may not be in the same character of what you see out there already.
Okay. Thank you.
If no further questions, I'll make a motion on number one, the variance of 15 feet.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for the first portion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, that portion is passed. Now the 5-foot side setback.
I move to approve the 5-foot side setback.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. That application has been approved. Next, we'll move to application Z17040 by Ron Warta, requesting 2 variances for the development of a carport on property located in an RS-15 district located at 314 Venus Place. The first portion of this application is a variance of 10 feet from a 12.5 required foot side yard setback, and number 2 is a 25-foot variance from the 30-foot required rear setback. Ms. Rush, if you'd review that for us.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Warta is seeking 2 variances to allow him to be able to enclose the existing carport structure that's located in the rear of the property for storage area, and then adding onto that a new carport to the front. The structure would be located, as it is constructed right now, 3 feet from the side property line and 5 feet from the rear property line. As a result of the City of Murfreesboro zoning ordinance, section 25E 1A, anytime there's a detached accessory structure that is closer than 5 feet to a principal structure, a detached accessory structure must be considered for the setback purposes as the primary structure, and that just has to do with the close proximity. So when Mr. Warta is adding on to the carport, the eave of his covered patio is going to be within inches of the eave of the new carport structure. So this particular section of the zoning code then applies. So rather than our normal 5-foot setback for detached accessory structures, the deeper setbacks that you see for the primary dwelling are now applicable.
Whereas they were not as this currently built.
Correct.
And is this within codes? Or not
we
codes?
open for
Is this?
deliberation at this
I'm
point?
sorry.
Chair?
So that's fine. That's fine. We can get some questions if you want to finish, and then we'll.
Okay. Do you want me to finish the presentation?
Go ahead. I apologize.
All right. So the applicant has obtained variances in the past. There was a variance granted for a building addition at the rear of the house. There was also a variance granted for the carport, the original carport structure, to allow the 3-foot setback. So he has come through and have gotten those entitlements legally to have those structures there. So this variance then would allow him to add the carport to the front and create that additional storage. And he indicates that this is necessary because due to his age and health, he's not able to access the storage in the second floor of his carport that's there right now. The original garage that was constructed with the house has been converted to a beauty salon, and that was done with a special use permit legally many years ago. So what you see is that as a result of over time, he's had the need to add on, create a place for his cars, and create additional storage. The applicant states that the practical difficulties that warrant this particular variance that's requested is because of the shape of the property. It's a pie-shaped lot with the wider portion being on the street frontage and the rear of his house being very narrow, which limits the amount of area that he can put at detached accessory structures. The applicant states that the property was not subdivided, states that the property was subdivided in this manner prior to him, so it was not self-created in terms of the subdivision. However, in terms of the additional garage and storage space, those are things that are self-created. These are things that he's doing. The applicant, and I believe his partner is here and can answer any questions about the project or about the previous projects if the commission has any. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for staff? If you don't mind, I think you mentioned because of this construction, the side setbacks have changed. Just make sure I understand this was first, or if you could review that for me, where the original structure is a different setback than if it's attached. Did I understand that right?
Correct. So as shown in the aerial, if you want to refer to the screen at this point, you can see the roof line of the detached carport that is existing. And that carport has got a greater distance between the main dwelling and the structure itself. So as a detached structure, the zoning code requires a minimum of 5 feet from the property lines, the side and the rear. Mr. Warta received a 2-foot variance for that construction of that structure. But by adding on to the front of it for the new carport, he's going to be in very close proximity to his main dwelling. And the zoning ordinance requires that if you're within, I think it was, if you're within 5 feet, which he will be, then the primary dwelling setbacks then become applicable. And that's what's requiring this deeper
Okay.
variance.
I don't know that I've run into that before. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any further questions for staff? Mr. Warta or the applicants, anything you'd like to add to the application?
Yes, excuse me. Primarily, I've had trouble with anything that I tried to do on this lot is the reason I've had to go this route. We'll add that it might make a difference to you that all of my neighbors on that complete inner and outer circle have signed a petition that they were okay with me doing this. So that should bear something on it also. And I'm kind of in between a rock and a hard place. I don't have any other options to amount to anything other than maybe putting a storage building in the back, and that would take the rest of my green. And if this already has the pad, it would be an ideal thing to do for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll conduct a public hearing. Is there anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for further discussion or a motion. And again, we have 2 components to this application.
Sounds like your neighbors are okay with it. Like you said, 19 signed, so they're okay with it.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the variance of 10 feet of the number 1, variance 10 feet of from the required, 12 and a half feet side setback. And I guess really it would be based upon the fact that it looks like that this board approved the garage some time ago. It's awful close. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know how you approve one and not the other. So I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second for the side setback variance. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none, so that portion is passed. Next, the 25-foot variance from the rear setback.
I make a motion to approve the 25-foot setback with the same comments as Mr. Halliburton. But I think it's appropriate considering the precedent set in on this property. So I make a motion to approve the variance of 25 feet.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the 25-foot variance. Any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That application has been approved. The next item on our agenda is a special use permit. It's application Z17041 by Jeff Hooper of Barge, Cawthon and Associates on behalf of the Rutherford County Board of Education for Central Magnet School requesting a special use permit to install 76 new parking spaces and driveway at the high school parking lot, adjacent to new parking spaces and driveway at the high school. This is for property located in a RS-15 zone located at 701 East Main Street. Ms. Rush, if you'd review this for us.
Thank you. The applicant, Rutherford County Board of Education, wishes to expand the existing parking lot located at 701 East Main Street, located at the Central Magnet School. For the original request was 76 stalls. The applicant, just prior to the meeting, has provided a modification to the request, and there's a new plan that's been provided on the DS for each of the board members. Rather than 76 new stalls, the request is now for 74 parking spaces, and it'll end up with a total on-site of 376 spaces. The Central Magnet School currently has 302, so bringing it up to 376 will bring it into compliance with our current parking standards. There have been some concerns expressed by the neighborhood and the neighbors there, and the applicant had kindly met with the neighbors to discuss some of these issues and concerns, and taking their comments in consideration, has come back with a revised plan for the board's consideration. I see that there's neighbors here as well as the applicant, so I'd probably like to turn it over to the commission if they would like to hear any further information.
Any questions for staff at this point?
Whoever makes the presentation, let's talk about what we originally proposed and what the changes are so we all understand.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jeff Hooper with Barge Cawthon Associates out of Nashville. I'm here on behalf of Rutherford County Schools. I have with me Mr. Brian Yarborough, which is one of their project managers out of the construction department. Parking is a definite need at Central Magnet. At this point, we are below the code minimum parking spaces needed for this facility, so that is our request, to get it up to at least code minimum. So we had originally asked for 76 parking spaces, and as Ms. Rush so advised, we have changed that to 74 based on our conversations with Mr. Barkley yesterday out on the site. If you go to the original sheet, see 1.2 in the original packet. You'll notice on the left side of the sheet, there was access out to University Street. And at the interior access to the parking lot that is shaded gray, there was a drive aisle that went transect that parking lot. What we have done to add more green space along University Street and to take away the concern about a new access, if you'll look at the revised drawing that was handed out to you today, we've taken that access drive out that's on the interior parking lot. That gave us another 22 to 24 feet of green space along North University Street. And we took away the additional access out to North University Street and just are showing a widening of the existing access. And that will help the school with the traffic control, getting kids in and out of the site. So that was the differences between the two. And I'm here.
I don't know if I can bring this up, but I got an email, and I don't know that it's part of our packet. Can I? Yes. Okay. So there was questions about the berming or the landscape, and I don't see anything talking about that here, but that was a question that was raised in an email that I received.
That's correct. Obviously, we're asking for the special use to actually have the ability to go build parking spaces on here. We're going to be required to go through the historical commission, and we got to go through site plan process. So we'll have to meet the ordinances regarding landscaping.
Okay.
We're very well aware of that.
Okay.
This was just to give you guys an idea of where we're talking about on the property, putting the parking. So again, we had heard the concerns from the community. we did take the opportunity yesterday to go meet with them, tried to adjust our parking plan as best we possibly could to meet their concerns. I don't know if we have done that 100%. I hope we have. But obviously, we still have a process to go through to get final approval.
And then my last question is I can speak for on Main Street. I know that there are, this may not be the right term for a high school, but crossing guards that are on Main. Is there a crossing guard or is there a plan for one on North University based upon the fact that we're adding these
I would have
spaces?
to defer to.
I can attest
Typically,
to
they
this.
are there.
Yes, they
They
are.
are.
I think they are.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just never have gone that direction to know one way or the other.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the setback on the old proposal and the new proposal the same, I guess, where the parking lot starts?
So off of North University Street, if you're looking at the revised C1.2 sheet we handed out today,
Right.
the first line is the property line identifying North University Street. The second dash line is the 10-foot landscape buffer that is required. The third line that you see there, the dash line, is the 40-foot minimum building setback. And then we're another approximately 20 feet behind that. So we're actually 65.3 feet away from the property line to
And that was
start of the
consistent
park.
in the first run. It just took out the access, the second access on University.
It did, and actually shifted the parking away from North University by about another 22 feet.
Okay. I didn't see that measurement on the first one. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess the internal use of that parking without that exits work
Rutherford
fine?
County Schools is okay with that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions for Mr. Hooper?
I just wonder how many students do we have over there now?
A lot.
I honestly could not answer that question. Mr. Yarborough, would you?
It varies from year, but they end up getting more drivers as the year progresses. By September, October, they'll get updated. I think right now they're at about 1,100 students, but it's actually 6 through 12.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll conduct a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this application, if you'd come forward, state your name and address, and you can give us any comments that you may have.
Yes, sir. I'm Robert Barkley. I live at 215 North University, which is right across the street. And I want to compliment Marina and Jeff and Mr. Yarborough because they've been very responsive. Given that the school wants parking on this side of the street or on this side of the building, I think this is a good resolution. I would prefer the parking be on the other side, but it's not. So we can live with this if we can get some reasonable, good-looking decorations and landscaping. The main concern was that exit right onto a narrow street, and also we don't want a Walmart-looking parking lot in downtown Murfreesboro. So I think this addresses those two main concerns, and if they have to go through other stages in the approval process, we'll work to make sure that that's acceptable. So, thank you.
And I'm on the Planning Commission also, so I'm glad that I'm seeing this as part of the Board of Zoning Appeals. So I'll see the site plan also, and I'll do my best to acknowledge the fact that with respect to the landscaping piece.
Right, I don't know how much space you need for landscaping, and I'd say the main negative of this plan is that a lot of use is made of that space where the parking lot is. You know, that's, in a sense, that's a negative, but it's not necessarily my decision. So, okay, we'll accept that, and we did better than we thought, so we get a plus and a minus.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for further discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any other questions. I would just move to approve the special use request as presented with the amended plan.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. There any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That application's been approved. Appreciate everybody getting together to try to find a resolution there. Next item on our agenda is staff reports and other business. Any under that heading?
I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, next month we will need to nominate and elect a chair and vice chair position. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that it will be on the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Something to look forward to. All right, and with that, we'll adjourn. Thank you.